Everybody ready? I'd like to call the regular meeting to order at 6:30, Watertown Town Hall, Town Council Chambers, 61 Echo Lake Road, for the Conservation Commission Inland Wetland Agency. Roll call, please.
Craig Palmer.
Here.
Tom Murphy.
Here.
Edwin Dalton. Joe Paletta.
Here.
George Tuponce. Luigi Cavallo. Charles Beliveau. Michael Jedd, I'm here. Edward Norton.
I'm going to make a motion to seat temporary for Mike Jedd for secretary. Any?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Public hearing. Mike, can you read the ground rules?
Yep, before we get started, I'll just read the ground rules for the public hearing. The applicant or his or her representative will make his/her formal presentation to the commission stating the proposed regulated activities, the wetlands impacts, and the alternates for which they've been considered by the applicant. All comments, discussion, observations shall be made through the chairperson after proper recognition by the chairperson. This is necessary to ensure that only one person at a time speaks on any issue, thus making it easier for everyone to understand and for clear legal transcription. All persons addressing the commission shall begin by first clearly stating their name, their address for the record. If necessary, the person may be asked to spell his or her name for the record. Following the presentation of the application, the Conservation Commission Inland Wetland Agency will ask specific questions of the applicant. After the commission has asked its questions of the applicant, I shall then allow any members of the public who wish to speak either in favor of this application or against it to address the commission. After then, allow the applicant to respond to the comments of the members of the general public. I shall then allow any members of the general public who wish to present any additional information or clarifying discussion to do so. I then shall provide an opportunity for the applicant to respond to these additional remarks if he or she or his or her representative so wishes. The Conservation Inland Wetlands Agency has 35 days from the date of public hearing commences to complete the public hearing. The commission may ask the applicant for a 35-day extension of the public hearing period if the commission requires any additional information or wishes to schedule a site walk to observe the situation for themselves. And lastly, the Conservation Commission of Inland Wetland Agency has 35 days from the date of when this public hearing is closed to render its decision.
Mike, you don't have a copy of the legal notice, do you?
It is attached to the agenda.
The agenda,
The last page.
the last page.
Yes.
Can you just read that, please?
All right. The Conservation Commission Inland Wetlands Agency of the Town of Watertown will hold a public hearing at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, November 16th, 2023, at the Watertown Town Hall Council Chambers, 61 Echo Lake Road, Watertown, Connecticut, to hear and act upon the following application. Application number 2023-13 of William Zarilla for construction of a covered boat slip on the shore of Lake Winnemog and installation of ground-mounted solar panels in upland review area at 229 Caruso Drive, Watertown. At this hearing, interested persons may be heard and written communication received. A copy of the application is on file at the Land Use Office in Watertown Town Hall, 61 Echo Lake Road, Watertown, Connecticut. Dated at Watertown, Connecticut, this second day of November 2023. Dated at Watertown, Connecticut, this 9th day of November 2023.
Thank you. A, application 2023-13 of William Zarella for the construction of a covered boat slip on the shore of Lake Winnemog, installation of a ground-mounted solar panels, upland review area at 229 Crusoe Drive, Watertown. The red light on?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Start again. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission and staff. Franklin Pillacy on behalf of Mr. Zarrillo. Mr. Zarrillo is not here tonight because he's out of state working. Just by way of background on Mr. Zarrillo, he is a conservationist, and his job or profession, if you will, is restoring coral reef. And that's what he's doing right now. That's his goal in life, and that's what he does. Firstly, I'll present to Musa a certificate or affidavit of notice that was sent to everyone, and I have a package of documents that we'll submit and scoot through, and I'll deliver a copy to each member of the commission.
Thank you. Sure.
Again, Franklin Pillacy, I just delivered a package of documents that I'll run through. But as you know, the nature of this application is to seek approval for what's sometimes called a covered dock. And this particular dock, or particular style of dock, is requested because it is needed to accommodate a disability of the wife of the owner of the property. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But the first document I submitted is a letter from my office that describes the application and describes the pertinent provisions with respect to the ADA Act that requires accommodations, and to indicate that this act does apply to municipal agencies such as zoning or wetlands, and there are some citations in here that proves that. So we just want to document in this record that this application is seeking an accommodation under the Americans with Disabilities Act, because this is the only type of dock that can be used by or is suitable for the wife that will be part of the use of this dock. The second item or document submitted is a picture that shows a little bit what this looks like when it's built and at different stages of building it and what it will look like. But it's land-based, and it is described later on, but it shows that. The next document is a document that Mr. Zerillo does not want in the public record. It's included in your package, but it was my intent not to let this document, obviously it has to be contained in the record, but I would ask Musa to gather these up afterwards, because Mr. Zerillo very much does not want these. Well, let me back up. This is not what I thought it was. This is a letter from a neighbor. There's several letters from neighbors here in this series, and these letters are all the neighbors that support this application. So without going through them, there's one from Fran McQuaid, there's one from a William Dunbar, there's one from Tracy Ewer, and there's one from Lynn Higgins. And these are all of the neighbors that support this. The next document is a petition signed by the same individuals that signed separate letters, but also there are additional names of owners on Caruso Drive and Flint Rock that abut this property that support this application. The next document is a sort of a construction detail or construction sequence of how this dock would be put together. And it shows the sequence, and it shows some design schemes along with a map of the property itself. The next document is a description. It's titled Accessible Boat Slip, 229 Caruso Drive, Watertown, Connecticut. and it talks about why this dock is suitable with some examples. It's suitable and qualifies under the Americans with Disabilities Act, and describes a little bit about what that act is about and how this design is intended to comply with that act and yet provide someone a dock that can be used with a disability. The next report is a wetlands scientist, soil scientist, who has inspected this property, reviewed the application, and has written a report about this application. And if you all want to take a couple of minutes to read through this, but it goes through the application, it goes through his site investigation, and I don't want to tell you what it says. I think it would be better if we take a few minutes and read through it.
All right. We're good, right? I think we're all set, Franklin, on that.
Excuse me?
We're all set with that.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to
Correct.
make sure that everyone had an opportunity to read this. And there is an opinion and a conclusion in here that tells us that this application, if approved, and the improvement, if constructed, will not have an adverse impact on the wetlands or the lake. The last item, I haven't given a copy to everyone, but I believe Musa has a copy of this in the record. And this is a letter from a Dr. Machado that indicates that the homeowner is under care for a medical condition that causes involuntary muscle issues and creates and results in a physical disability or handicap that impacts performance and difficulty with vision and balance. And it's the balance part of this that requires a dock of this nature that doesn't bounce or move around as a dock on the water normally would. So I wanted to, this ties into the acknowledgement that this is a wetlands application with a twist a little bit, and the twist is the ADA situation to accommodate the handicap and the disability. The last part of the application is to add some solar panels to this house, and this house is pretty much what they call a net zero house. They have the geothermal, and they have some solar panels already, and it's sort of like, or is like what they call the net zero. The solar panel component of this application, their location, proposed location, is basically on bedrock, so it would have no real impact on anything. But all of the activities, no activities are really in a wetland, except obviously the dock is going to be constructed on land, but it will allow the water to come into the area under the dock, and when the dock is constructed, the boat will be lifted hydraulically or with jacks, and then once the boat is entered, it will be lowered into the water and taken out the same way. There are a number of these covered docks at Lake Quassapog. There's a smaller number at Bantam Lake or Lake Warramog, but it seems there's probably a dozen of them at Quassapog in Middlebury. Don't know that there's any around here, but the specific need for this is to accommodate the disability of the handicap. So are there any questions on anything? I think you've probably been out there to see this.
I
Yes,
have a question about the construction
yes.
of, how do you plan to put these pillars into the water?
Well,
I mean, Are
that's,
they gonna be, you gonna have any machines, or how do
now,
they plan to
the
put it in?
construction method is a little bit explained, but I don't know that they use any big machinery. And
No, but how do you
I can't
fasten-
answer that question. I'm not the
I
construction
mean, I'm
guy.
just saying, you're in the water, and now
Well, they're adjacent. It's land-based and it will be constructed on land. None of this will be in the water. It will all be above. And there'll be a little area, and the location of this is kind of hidden in a little cove, so you're not even going to see it from the water.
so this does not touch the water.
The components of this, my understanding is all land-based. They're not going into the water. It's going to be above the water. It's designed to be a stable platform to get in and out of the boat, and the boat will be lowered into the water. But it's land-based. There's not going to be any pilings in the water or anything like that.
Well, it talks about in here about concrete in the water, so there's no detailed plan here anyways on how it's gonna be done.
Yeah, I can't answer all of the
Right.
construction aspects of it.
Right.
I can only provide what the construction people gave me to give to you.
Right. We went on a site walk over there.
Yep.
And we went onto the property. After the site walk, I came back and went to look at the land records. So if you go to the original site plan that's filed, there's a 50-foot buffer by the water. There's only one driveway. He has a second driveway in the wetlands. That's not on the land records. And his name doesn't appear on the land records. I know he filled out an application saying he owned it, but if you go down to the land records, his name's not on it. So I don't know how he can sign a piece of paper
Saying he's the owner.
saying he's the owner.
Well, then I would have to ask you to keep the public hearing open, and I can get
Right.
answers to those questions.
There's a little map for you. In 2020, I Googled the map. If you go over there now, he's removed this whole buffer from the water. So first we have, a violation of the buffer that we have to correct before we do anything about a dock.
Well, is this something I can take?
Sure, you can get it right off that's how I did it.
You can get it. Me, I'm not so technical.
Oh, no, well, my wife, I have a smarter help than me.
You can get it out.
All right.
All right.
So we went over there and I think he has to come up with somehow he's gonna restaurate that 50 feet. He had gone down there and built a driveway all the way down to the lake. He has a piece of machinery there, so we have some issues before we even get to ever getting to an application for a dock.
And if we're going to keep the public hearing open too, a question regarding Ian Cole's letter, how it's in his professional opinion, the water boundary should be
Mr. Chairman,
changed.
Yes.
I'm sorry, before you do that, you should ask the public if there's anybody in the public they want to talk, because this is a public hearing.
All right.
Don't.
No, I won't forget.
I'm sorry?
I won't forget. I'm not done.
So through the chair, on Ian Cole letter, can we ask how much weight we should place on this, seeing it's his professional opinion? And it looks like he went out there on October 19th, so I'm going to assume he just looked narrowly at that one piece of property and not the entire lake to define the boundaries that should be changed or that are incorrect. So it seems to me that it's just here as really nothing we can rely on unless we want to do hire a third-party review to see if he is correct in this. So I don't really think we should place much credence on this as an opinion.
What
He's only looked at one
specifically do you
piece.
want from Ian Cole? I didn't get all of that.
I'm sorry?
What specifically do you want from Ian
Well,
Cole?
Ian Cole, is his opinion that the high water mark should be changed. Now, is that based upon him surveying the entire lake, doing the measurements, or just a personal opinion that he kind of looked at and said, hey, I got hired by this guy, and I just want to do what he wants me to do? It doesn't seem like this could be a very stable document and you could basically rely on saying it's scientifically proven or it's done in a surveyor's manner. You know, it just seems, again, like I said, he does say a personal opinion, which kind of gives a caveat where he's not bound by it.
Well, he's a wetlands scientist. And
I understand that. So
Soil
we
scientist.
basically have the one that did the survey. Stuart Summers was the original one, and he's basically saying that's incorrect. So maybe we should get a third.
Do you have a
party.
different one already? Are you saying that you have something else that contradicts his opinion?
I'm sorry?
Are you saying that you have something that contradicts Ian Cole's opinion?
I'm saying that he's saying that Stuart Summers' thing should be changed because of the high water mark is different where it should be, so we should maybe get a clarification on that from an independent party.
No, actually, there is a subdivision map that I gave a copy to Attorney Pelosi. If you look at this, the area that he is proposing, that this whole area is wetlands.
Right,
And this contradicts the report that we received recently.
right.
And somebody can go and look at that. And also, Attorney Pelosi, do you have this picture in your packet that you gave it to us?
Yes.
Okay, the applicant is claiming that his wife is handicapped and they need this.
Yes.
Just for your information, this is the house.
Yeah.
And there is like approximately like 15 to 20 steps coming from the house down to the lake.
Yeah.
And there is already a dock there.
Right.
And if she's handicapped, why she has to come down all the way here and then cross the entire property to go to this location?
Because there's going to be a different access on the other side of the property to get down to the new dock.
Then he should put on the map that what the activity, because that activity is within 100-foot setback area. Because if they're using the existing stairs, it makes sense to have the dock where the stairs ends. Why somebody has to cross the entire length of the property to go to the dock?
Well, she can't use the existing stairs, so I can tell you that right now.
Okay, then the map shows that where the drive is going to be built and how steep the drive is.
Now, the proposed dock is on the opposite side of the property than
Right.
the existing dock, correct?
Yes.
Right.
All right. So there'd be a new access leading down to
Right.
that new dock.
But this, we just can't forget by looking at the map, it's all wetlands, and most of that's already been done, so that has to be removed anyways.
I will coordinate a list of all these questions with Musa and get them to the
Right.
homeowner.
The biggest question is the town owns the lake. The town owns the water and controls the rights of the high and low. So he can't lower it or raise it. It belongs to the town of Watertown. This board can't give him a permission to put a dock in there anyways. We don't have that jurisdiction.
Well, you have the jurisdiction to approve it under your wetlands regulations.
We can't approve, there's no dock in the regs in town, I've been looking, it's under Park and Rec. There's nothing about docks.
Well,
Mr.
then-
Chairman, I just want to correct
Right.
something. The use of the lake is up to them, but the construction of this dock is under your jurisdiction
Right.
because it is within your regulated area. And just for Attorney Pelosi's information, you said that the building is just on the ground. I agree with you, but in order to build this building, they have to dig the edge of the
Right.
the pond, an area of 28 feet by 18 feet that allow the waters to come into the property, and then they build the structure.
That's true.
Yes,
That's
that
true.
is a regulated activity.
Right.
Well, that's why we're here.
Yes. I
Okay.
just wanted to know that
Right.
there is activities, and the building is on top of the ground, but the activity is
He-
adversely impact the pond.
He was asked at the last meeting to come up with a restoration plan, so he was asked that already.
Well, any impact will be a temporary impact during a short construction period.
No, what he's already done. We're not talking about the dock, we're talking about correcting what's been done.
So to Moose's point, you said this commission has the authority to regulate what happens as far as this dock?
Yeah, because
So-
You have jurisdiction over all the water courses and 100-foot upland review area.
So how does it fit in with the town regs of a 14-foot boat that's allowed on that lake? Right, the sign right at the boat launch allows a maximum of a 14-foot boat
Okay.
with nothing other than an electric motor.
Well, I'm
The
only here
size of
for
this
the,
dock,
I'm only here for the wetlands regulated activity. I can't answer questions
but maybe
about-
it's something that Mr. Zarillo
Size
can
of the
answer
boat.
before the next meeting, because the size of the dock accommodates something along the lines of a 9 by 20-foot boat. If it's 28 feet deep on his boat, on his dock, with a dock on the shoreline and leaving approximately 20 feet, 22 feet, that seems like it'll accommodate a boat much larger than the town regs.
I will,
And to that notice, I mean, an
I will
electric motor's
ask-
not gonna do too good.
I will coordinate with Musa all of the questions that have been asked and request the public hearing remain open.
And also, the letter that you mentioned about ADA regulations and stuff, it's not there.
I can't hear you. What?
You said that you gave me a letter that the doctor wrote?
Yeah, I didn't
You
see
didn't,
that.
you didn't give me
It
that.
wasn't in here.
I still can't understand your question.
He's saying that you didn't give him the letter of the ADA, which you didn't, but Mr. Zarillo said he's the person who dropped it off. That's not true.
Okay. I will get one to Musa, but Mr. Zarillo told me that he did give you, gave Musa a letter from the doctor that explained the disability. If you
I
don't,
think he came and showed that to Roseanne, but he didn't,
He said I could not make a copy of it, he just wanted me to look at it.
Roseanne read
okay,
it.
I will get you a sealed copy. Mr. Zarillo does not want that available for public.
No, that's not going to be a
Consumption.
public record. That will be like
I will get it for you
confidential, yes.
in an envelope that we would ask that remain sealed from public view.
Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this application? Anybody from the public? Anybody online? All right, make a motion to continue.
I'll make a motion to continue public hearing.
Second?
Motion made and second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Musa, I'll work with you to make sure we have a list of all the questions that we need to get answers for.
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Regular meeting. Anybody from the public wishing to speak? Six, action on the minutes. A, regular meeting September 14th, 2023, and B, regular meeting October 12th, 2023. Did everybody receive the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Are any questions or errors?
I make a motion to approve the meeting, the minutes from the October 12th, 2023, and the September 14th, 2023 meetings.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
I
All
abstain
opposed?
from, Tom Murphy abstains from the October meeting that I was not in attendance at.
And Joe Paletta, so we'll have to table it then. You don't have a quorum, right?
No, doesn't matter.
Two?
There's
Okay.
a majority,
Majority.
yes.
You good, Roseanne?
Yep.
A, pending applications. A, application 2023-13 of Willem Zarella for the construction of a covered boat slip on the shore of Lake Winnemog, installation of ground-mounted solar panels, upland review at 229 Crusoe Drive, Watertown. It's a motion to table.
Motion to table?
Right,
Make a motion to table.
yeah.
Second?
Motion made and second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, any abstention, motion carries. 8, new application, application 2023-16 of Burr Hall Farm LLC for development of a 68.6 acre parcel of land, farming, commercial use located on Olive Road, Watertown, Connecticut.
What? No, they're not really different from what they have, I think. Good evening. For the record, my name is Emily Jones, professional engineer with Civil One. I have with me tonight Attorney Jim Strube and Bram Yaffe from Burr Hall Farm. And thank you for seeing us tonight. The project site is located in the southern portion of the town on the west side of Olive Road. It does border Middlebury and has an adjacent parcel in Middlebury, also owned by Burr Hall Farm. If you could switch to the next slide, I'll show the existing conditions. Oh, I can switch to the next slide. Too much power. Thank you. The total property is 68.56 acres located in the R70 residential zone. Currently, the site is a mixture of open agricultural fields, wooded areas, and wetlands. Hop Brook does drain from west to east through the center of the property with some small contributing watercourses that come from the west and the north. The wetlands and upland review areas on the site are basically associated with that Hop Brook area and the contributing watercourses, and are at the bottom of the hillsides that are on the property going through the center of it. There's about 12.7 acres of wetlands on the site. There is a 100-year floodplain on the property, as shown on the FEMA mapping and as calculated by our office, which I'll go into detail on in a little bit, because the mapping is in an area where there is not a defined flood elevation. And so the mapping is approximate, and we had to calculate it more exactly. The proposed project is a continued farm use with the construction of a number of farm buildings and barns, including a farm stand, a lavender barn, a grain milling barn, and a bee and butterfly barn. Surrounding the farm campus are a number of agricultural fields, which are proposed to provide a variety of functions for the farm. There are fields for produce, wheat, and lavender, as well as fields to be used for beehives and bee conservancy and butterfly sanctuary areas. The proposed 20-foot gravel drive enters the site from Olive Road, keeping to existing grade as much as possible, trying to balance cuts and fills up to where the area of the parking and the buildings are. There are also several gravel, pedestrian, and utility cart paths throughout the site to connect the barns and the various fields, both on the southern side of Hop Brook where the buildings are, and then there are fields also on the northern side, northwestern side of Hop Brook that need to be accessed as well. There are, you can see coming from the parking area, I wish I had a little laser pointer. This doesn't have that on it, does it? No. I'm gonna mess it up. I'm gonna like push the all off button or something. I don't know. You know what a parking area looks like. So from the parking area, there's two 12-foot gravel pedestrian and utility vehicle cart paths that go, we call them the sort of the northern path and the southern path, that go across Hop Brook to the fields on the other side. And then there's one path, it's at the top of the page, you can see, that crosses between fields G and H, and that path is also 12 feet wide, but is built for heavier farm equipment. The paths that connect the parking area to the fields more for pedestrians, things like gators or golf carts. There's also, next to the parking area and in front of the bee and butterfly barn is a proposed farm pond, 8 to 10 feet deep, mainly for aesthetic purposes, but also for potential irrigation or fire suppression purposes. And the project is proposed to be served by a private well and septic system, since there are no public utilities in that area, so it's currently under review by the health department. They did a preliminary review when there was a lot line revision done for this site, so we did like a B100A area review, but now they have to do their detailed review of the site with the proposed flows and everything. Come on. There we go. This sheet shows a more detailed grading and layout plan for the area where the buildings and the parking are proposed. You can see Hop Brook sort of on the upper part of the page as it meanders through the property, and you can also see the two 12-foot wide cart paths that are proposed to go over that. In this property, according to the FEMA mapping, there was some inaccurate boundary lines. They're very approximate in areas where they don't calculate floodplain elevation, so the line sort of meanders up the hill and then back down the hill, crosses the wetland and the water course. So what we did was we used a program online called StreamStats, and StreamStats is an online database for average peak flow for named water courses throughout the country, and basically you can pinpoint location in a water course, and it's pretty cool. It'll give you the watershed area, and that will give you the flow rates for like the 2, 5, 10, 50, 100, 5-year, 100-year storms. So we used that information, and then we used the topography of the stream channel bed to model the flow through the channel and come up with the elevation. So all of that information is in the stormwater report that I need to submit to you tonight for review by, maybe you could do that. There you go, there's your, for review by the town engineer and staff. But, so they should be able to look at those elevations. It's fairly straightforward calculation.
I take that one for the town engineer. Thank you.
And based upon that, we drew in the thick black dashed lines which show the exact floodplain elevation and the two areas of the crossings. The proposal for these crossings is to avoid as much impact to the wetlands, floodplain, and watercourse as possible. So we're currently working, we're not fully committed to York Bridge concepts, but currently that's who we're working with. And they design timber bridges for both pedestrian, light utility, heavy-duty road, span bridges. The bridges come, they're timber bridges, and they have relatively small pilings, like about 12-inch diameter concrete pilings that can be spaced up to 20 to 25 feet apart. So I did a profile for the crossing, which you can actually see, although not so well, on this sheet for each of the two crossings, and I laid out where those pilings should come down so that they don't interfere, with the water course itself. They're not in the stream bed channel. And then York takes that along with the architect's vision for what aesthetically we want this bridge to look like, and will design the bridge to meet the structural components. Now, there is some temporary disturbance within the wetland area for the installation of these. Some dewatering will probably have to take place. It's in the plans that this should take place during the dry season, the driest time of the year when there's as low a possible water flow. And all that construction sequencing and erosion control is in the plan set. But after the construction, this bridge spans the entirety of the floodplain, the entirety of the water course channel, and after it's constructed should have no permanent impact to the wetlands, the water course, or the floodplain storage or volume. So the details on that profile and everything and all of that construction sequencing and protection measures are all in the plans as well. Going back to the site plan. So we did take a lot of care also in the site plan to sort of work with the topography of the site. The buildings terrace up, or the bee and butterfly barn is sort of nestled into the hillside furthest southeast. And the farm stand is on an elevated wooden deck so that the ground below can be sort of at natural grade. So there was a lot of care taken to make it aesthetically pleasing and blend into the natural land. And this is the northern bridge, so very similar to the southern in that I did the profile for the driveway going across and then laid out the pilings to have minimal impact. So this project is located basically adjacent, obviously, to Hot Brook. So there's about 1,000 acres of drainage area that contributes to Hot Brook on this site. Because this property is located so close to the brook, in instances like this, we actually don't propose detention of stormwater on the site. And this is because the time of concentration, which is how you calculate peak flow rates from a storm, don't align between the watershed on your site and the watershed upstream. So if you think of it this way, the water from this property can get into Hop Brook in probably 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 6 to 10 minutes, you know, if it falls down on a driveway or even a lawn area where if it doesn't infiltrate and runs off, the time of concentration is very low. So the peak flow rate for a storm on this site going into Hop Brook happens very quickly. But for the 100 or the 1,000 acres above this site, that time of concentration could be an hour to 2 hours or more. So you may not see a peak flow from the upper areas of the watershed for many more hours. So in this case, we try to actually get the water from this site out into Hop Brook before the peak flow rates from the remainder of the watershed come down. And if you detain it, you actually compound the issue because you align those peak flow rates more. So having said that, there's no typical or traditional detention system on the site or underground detention storage. But it's still imperative that we work to maintain superior water quality from the site, that we promote infiltration and groundwater recharge, and that we do not impact or adversely impact the wetlands or the floodplain. So our three main goals for the stormwater management plan were protection of water quality, maximizing infiltration and groundwater recharge, and protection of the floodplain and the flood storage volume. We incorporated a lot of LID measures. We don't always get to do stuff like that. We don't always have a lot of real estate with minimal development where we get to spread out the stormwater. But in this instance, we incorporated a lot of rain gardens. There are water quality swales throughout the site. The gravel drives are cross-pitched to swales that are grass-lined with stone trenches in them, and we tried to divide and conquer for the stormwater. So essentially treat the stormwater where it falls and mimic existing conditions as much as possible. They're all designed to DEP standards and to your town standards, and I think, you know, when the report gets reviewed by the town engineer, you'll find that everything really promotes infiltration of the groundwater or the rainwater where it sits. And there are a number of erosion control measures, both permanent and temporary, in the plan. So those are the two cart crossings. Now, the heavy farm equipment does not go through the same area as the golf carts, utility vehicles, the workers, or any visitors to the site for safety reasons and other reasons. They need to get between the fields. So going back to the overall site plan, maybe. The path that I'm talking about right now is on the very top of the page, and it connects those two fields and basically is where the heavy farm equipment will need to go across. Now, there is a water course that runs down. Basically, this drainage area comes from Bunker Hill Road down to Hop Brook in this area. So we needed to design a wetland crossing that would accommodate the flow, preserve the natural stream bed, and preserve hydraulic connectivity between those areas. So what we've proposed is an open-sided, three-sided open-bottom culvert for the first area where there's an intermittent water course that comes down. And then where there's not a water course but there is a wetland area further on, we're going to do a stone seepage envelope. So these are two ways that we're passing. I did it for the 50-year storm event. It could also pass the 100-year storm. I did the calculation for 50, but I could show both. And then the seepage envelope is a very sort of low-impact way to allow that water to pass through without piping it. So for direct wetland activity, there's 4,530 square feet of activity within the wetland boundary. 1,860 square feet of that is temporary disturbance for the installation of the bridge structures that will be restored, and the remainder is for this upper crossing. So I know that was a lot, and I'm probably going to have to repeat it again next month, but I just wanted everybody to be aware of all the changes that we made since we did come here preliminarily, and all the details that went into the stormwater design. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, or Jim, if you have
Is everything
something.
flagged out, Emily, or no, now? Is it all staked now?
No, it's not, but I can stake it.
So I assume we're gonna take a site walk before we determine what the activity is here?
I assume you are also, yes.
So if you could, we'll arrange that, but get everything staked out and
Yep.
flagged. Just remember what time of year is, if there's snow on the ground, that sidewalk won't be performed, because we can't see anything, all right?
Yeah, for the record, Jim Strube, I just wanted to say, based on working with this client, I think you can see already with what Emily presented, it's a real unique opportunity for us as professionals who work with land planners and otherwise. You know, when Emily talks to them about the stormwater options, or even when the bridge concept came up, they are tuned into this property, conservation of it, proper use of it, making sure that the public that does come on does so in a way that enjoys what's there without disturbing what's there. So it's been a great opportunity for us. I hope you can already see that in the plans, and I think you'll see that when you go out there too. And even as we go forward, you know, if something comes up that might be a better way to look at it, the town engineer, I have no doubt that these owners will accommodate. It's been a real pleasure in that way. Different than what we might be used to with some other applicants.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I know there's
agree.
considerable flooding in that area, but like I said, it's not, what's it caused by, I don't know, but it's gone on for years, but I don't know the,
We certainly don't want to contribute.
No, but-
any more
you're right.
than it already exists.
Right.
any questions from the committee?
Yeah, Emily, can you describe that heavy equipment bridge? You said it was a three-sided concrete and stone. Is that an in-the-water bridge? Does that cross it like?
So it's not a bridge, really. It's a driveway, and then under the driveway, there's a concrete culvert. It'll
Okay.
essentially be a culvert
All right.
that has footings on, you know, the two
Yep.
sides so that the bottom remains open.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's 3 feet wide by 2 feet tall.
Okay. And the other question I had is, so that heavy equipment bridge bridges field H and G.
Correct.
On that map.
Yep.
But how does the heavy equipment access the rest of the farm? Is there only one driveway?
There is, and I think right now they use Olive Road is what I think they use.
To
come
get
up.
around?
Well, to come up to the field, like Field B there, but maybe Bram, you could chime in.
It shows a driveway to field B, but there's no driveway from field E through the regulated areas onto Olive Road.
You know what, I'm wearing my glasses and I still can't see.
The field on the top right, the one that looks like a horseshoe,
Yep.
there's, how do you get your heavy equipment across to the other side?
I see.
Bram,
I
sit
see.
down. We can talk. This is Bram from part of the.
I'm Bram Yaffe, farm manager at Burhall Farm. Nice to meet you all. And I think to answer the question, currently, present day, there is an access path from Ann Olive Road into what is Field E. And so I think to answer the question, a tractor, if necessary, would go down the drive, up Ann Olive, and then through the present day access point.
So is that proposed to be like an improved road to go through there?
So I will update the plans to show the driveway that's currently there so that it's clear on the plans and we can look at it in the field also.
Okay.
Currently, doesn't the guy who rents the fields, didn't he come down through the upper, on the far side?
Correct.
Like, just so you know, historically, Logue rented the fields that are now across the heavy machinery, and he accessed from above, which won't be the case.
From Bunker Hill Road, it was previously accessed to the
Yeah.
adjacent field.
Correct. No, I show how that bridges the property continuously, but I was just trying to see where the water course, you only have, light-duty pedestrian utility bridges.
Right.
So, just to get, to get heavy equipment, if there was a bigger structure, or if there was more driveways that were planned.
Just to use existing, I think, is the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just have to show it.
Any other questions from the commission? Musa, have any questions?
No, Mr. Chairman, at this time, we just want to schedule a site walk and
Emily, on the stream, you said stream stats?
Stream stats, yeah.
How often is that updated?
I
Not
think
just-
it's updated at least yearly.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I have just a question. I was on a seminar on the past Saturday. They were talking about revising the 2004 storm management manual.
Yep.
Is that, are you familiar with that?
I am, yep. We went to a webinar also for it, and we have a copy of the draft manual. It's interesting, there's some interesting changes to it, and it actually focuses a lot on a lot of LID measures. So I think this plan is in conformance with whatever they sort of come up with for their next draft. It's been some time, yeah. I know everybody was like, oh, we're in, the latest regulations, but that was 2004. So, yeah.
And you are using some of the recommendations that they have?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
That's good.
yes, we have their latest guidelines.
When does that take effect, Musa?
I think 2024.
Right.
It
Yeah.
will be available. Yes.
They're threatening.
But they have
Oh.
to have an effective date, and then from that time, then it will be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for our regulations, because we
Right.
mentioned this version, and it says that as amended, that will be included.
Right.
In future.
Yeah,
whenever
and
we
I
have
think
it.
in my stormwater report, I said that we were in conformance with the most current, because it was, it's 2004, but we also used the draft guidelines as far as like what they were coming up with. They did a little webinar for engineers for people to read through it and see if there's any discrepancies between different sections of the report, which of course there were. And then, different, to come up with real-life scenarios of how they would be applied. So it was interesting to work through that, yeah.
And they were also talking about the ENS manual.
That's even older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's from 2002.
I know. I was 22.
Yes.
Just from a zoning perspective, just so you understand how all the pieces fit, aside from the farming use, which, it's in a residential zone where farming would be allowed. A couple of years ago, Watertown, I think pretty proactively put in a permanent farm store regulation, which this would fall under. Some other towns are going a different route. Some other towns are doing agritourism regs, which get really fuzzy.
That was talked about, that seminar about that, but I don't know. I'm not a,
I was involved with Morris when they
Right.
put some in. I'm not sure how clear or helpful they are. I know Southbury wrestles with it a little bit
Right.
too. In this case, especially in this area, which Planner's Choice did it up on Bunker Hill
Yes.
Road, that was under the permanent farm store regulations. So when we get to zoning, obviously we did some preliminary meetings too.
right,
To make sure
yeah,
that this all fit between the farming use and the permanent farm store
Right.
use, that it would work. You have to accommodate the parking, that's why we show the parking on
Right.
the plan and otherwise.
but really, that's the only reason you're here is because of the building part, not if you were just having a farm, I don't think you'd have to come to wetlands,
Correct.
correct?
Right.
I mean,
The
well,
crossings we would.
right, but the reason
Right.
you're here
We're
is
here,
the,
want to show you everything, show how we're doing.
right, but that's the biggest part.
But just wanted to understand our zoning path
Yeah.
and how that relates.
But you haven't gone, you put an application in zoning, even know what it is?
No, we did a lot of times we do our pre-application meetings with planning and zoning.
Yeah.
In this case, we didn't feel that was necessary. We thought it was necessary to do a pre-application with this commission
Right,
because
Okay,
it's so
just-
unique from a wetland standpoint.
Right.
We're sensitive to floodplain issues. A lot of research went into the bridge concept.
Right.
We wanted to make sure that that was, not that we were going to get a stamp of approval, but just that it was a viable concept to come in with. Whereas if and when we get a
Right.
wetlands approval, we feel pretty good
right,
about its applicability on the zoning side.
right. And we are the Conservation Commission, which we're a little weak in. We love to see the land not be
Yeah.
developed, so,
Right.
the other acres, how many acres you're not using.
Yeah,
So-
and we did do a little
Yeah.
bit of a preliminary, feasible and prudent alternative analysis, which is
Right.
in the stormwater report. And this is, you know, it's in the R70 zoning district. It could support a residential subdivision. You know, there's like 13 acres of wetlands, so minus that,
Right.
with a public road in there, you know, you could be looking at like 20, 25 single-family houses, which we feel is definitely a much higher impact overall, development-wise, and then also just sort of conservation-wise, because homeowners are not always the most responsible land users.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to decide on the date
I think-
that you want to go?
I
or-
think maybe December 9th?
Okay. You're-
That's a Saturday, is that because of daylight, is that a problem with?
So,
Your
is
meeting is
anybody
on the
available?
14th.
Because my daughter made it to nationals with water oak cheer, so we'll be in Florida
Really, congratulations.
That's great.
for the thousands of dollar trip that we got 3 weeks' notice. But it's fun.
How many boxes of cookies did you have to sell? No, you don't know that.
I don't know, but if anybody wants to play
That's the
bingo
Girl
on
Scouts,
Sunday,
sorry.
it's at the VFW.
All right, sorry, I should have known that.
So, okay, probably Brian could go from our office, or
Right, it's-
somebody could go,
If
yeah.
it's flagged out and
Yeah,
if
Yeah.
this gentleman could be there, because he knows the site, right? We're good with that?
Okay,
Go with that,
December 9th at 9 o'clock?
yeah.
9 o'clock, December 9th, is that okay?
So we're gonna table and schedule.
Musa, do you know that there has been a change to the definition of farm stores in the zoning regs?
Yes,
There has been.
yes.
Okay.
There is new regulations that,
All right, I didn't see that online last time I looked, maybe a
Okay.
month ago or so.
they are not updated, yes.
Gotta ask for the amendments.
Okay,
So it's farm store permanent. There's some technical differences. This is under farm store permanent, and if you ask Mark, Sud for the amendment set, you'll get it.
okay.
They're working on the revising the regulations and it will be all together, but at this time it's not
Okay, it's
included,
not in the
yes.
actual.
Nah, I know, it's just hard to keep. You good, Musa? We're good?
Yes,
Okay, I'll make a motion that, application 2023-16 be tabled and a field trip be scheduled for December 9th?
December 9th, 9 o'clock.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Great, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
happy
you.
holidays.
Take care.
You did well. Good luck with the cheerleading.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. No. He's pretty good.
Yeah, I know, I like
Yeah.
it.
9, old business. We had 2 notice of violations issued, one to the owner of 30 Jericho Road, Watertown, one to the owner of 1267 Northfield Road. Any update, Musa?
no, at this time, I didn't get a chance to go and check the one on Northfield Road. I will go before the next meeting and then I will
So
report
just
to you.
table those.
Okay,
Just
ma-
table
Make
both.
a motion table 9A and B.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. New business, proposed meeting dates for year 2024.
Yeah, Roseanne gave you those dates to have your meeting.
I think they're good.
It looked good.
And
Good?
who can disagree with Roseanne?
Ned's not here to proof it, though, so Ned always finds something.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve item 10A, the meeting dates for calendar year 2024.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. 11, communications and bills. A, the Town of Watertown resolution supporting the inclusion of Watertown in the federal Highlands boundary. Any comment, Musa?
yeah, the council, they decided to include Watertown in that program.
Fine.
We were not involved with that. We just got the copy of the
Accept and
resolution.
file.
Second.
Yes,
Make a motion to accept and file 11A.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. 12, reports from officers and committees, chairperson report. Last Saturday, Musa and I went to the the annual meeting of the,
Kakiwik.
whatever you pronounce it. It was very interesting to go through, and basically they have two attorneys there that have been there for years, and they go through all the cases. I think, I'm not sure what Moose's take on it was, that I think we gotta think about when we give a cease and desist, and somehow we gotta, I think Moose at the next meeting is gonna put on the agenda, how we can work through these, because even, they went through case after case, and they go 5 years, get to Superior Court, and the Superior Judge says, whatever, and the whole thing, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's, it's no-win, it seems to be a no-win situation. I'm not saying on every case.
I took
but-
some notes from the
Right.
conference, and under the staff report, I will mention some of the points that I took notes from there.
Okay.
And then I will ask the commission to see how we want to handle these things. Should I put them on the agenda for discussion?
Yeah.
And then we will go from there.
Right, because we don't seem to be getting anywhere on the ones we have, correct? Not that I can, well,
We will talk about it.
okay.
We will talk about it.
Basically, that's all I had. And then B, report from Wetlands Regulations Review Subcommittee.
I think it's high time we send out the regulations to the town attorney for approval, and then when he submits them back to us, we'll set for a scheduled public hearing.
So we'll make a motion to approve the changes?
Yeah, so I think we're ready to do that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make a motion, we accept the changes as presented and forward them to the town attorney for his approval.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. 13 reports from staff. A permit 2023-15 issued to the Watertown Golf Club for watercourse bank stabilization, removal of 3 beaver dams at 246 Gurgee Town Road, Watertown. We're fine with
Mr.
that.
Chairman, this was the application that you authorized me to issue the
Right.
permit after 14 days, and I did it. I just wanted to report to you. Regarding that conference that we attended together, and I took some notes, but we can discuss it in future. If you
Right.
want, I can put them on the agenda.
Good idea.
For application fees, they recommended that we can add to our application fees monitoring, compliance, and enforcement cost. That's something that you should think about it, that when you do your application
Fee
fees.
schedule?
Yeah, should we include this to that, or because you worked on it,
And
Mike?
can you read that again?
Yes, we can include monitoring, compliance, and enforcement cost in the application fee.
And should there be a model off of other towns?
No, each town, I mean,
Each town comes up with a model.
something visible, yes.
Would that be an
and see-
hourly charge?
Let's take the lead.
Do you want to make that as an item on the agenda for next
Yes.
month's meeting, that we can
Yeah.
discuss about it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
If nobody's done it, we might as well take the lead.
Okay, that is one important point that I took it from the seminar, and also about the enforcement. They recommended that do not issue notice of violations. Because a notice of violation, normally we tell people that, oh, you did this, now you stop doing it, can come to the meeting, and the commission will issue a permit for them. And then, once somebody has a permit, and those permits are good for 5 years. And also, according to the attorneys that they were giving this seminar, they said that once you issue the permit, the person can say, I'm not doing it. And there's nothing you can do. It's better not to issue notice of violation. The best thing to do is that if I get a notice that somebody is violating, I should make a contact with them and see if that person can work with me, that we can resolve the issues. We just do it and then I report to you. If not, if they give me hard time, then we can give it to the town attorney to issue an order and then take him to court from there.
So you're
Because
gonna
they
make-
say that notice of violation is basically waste of your time.
Right.
And also, you, always in the notice of violation, we ask the applicant to come to the next meeting and discuss this issue with the commission, and the commission say that, oh, because you have to do these regulated activities, you submit an application, and then we will issue a permit for those activities. And then at the end, if he doesn't do it, first of all, he has 5 years to do it.
Yeah.
And then if he doesn't do it, there is nothing we can do, because he said, I give you a permit to do something, and the person can say, I don't want to do it.
So
Yeah.
Musa, maybe you can add to that too. the next month's
Yes.
meeting about the orders, or how he said about the orders, or
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
And-
I will put it on
Okay.
on the agenda for next month,
All right.
that we can go through that. The other thing that, and also, going to people's property without their consent is prohibited. I don't have the right to go to anybody's
Right.
property. Like, suppose somebody called me in the office that, oh, my neighbor is doing this. I cannot just go to that
No.
property. I can go from the neighbor's property if they allow me, or go from the street, and that's the only way that I can do. If the person doesn't allow me to go on their property to see the violation, I don't have the right to go there.
That makes
Right,
sense.
we already knew that, right?
Yes.
I mean, you.
But sometimes people say, why you don't go there? Because
No.
I don't have like jurisdiction over people's private property. Even one of the people that they were at the seminar, they asked that, what about if we buy a drone and use drone?
Right.
And the attorney said no, because you go behind
No.
somebody's backyard and it is like.
Well, they had one case, they had the fire department bring the ladder, and they climbed up the ladder. And they went all after the volunteers, we said, oh, they were out training.
Yeah. Yes.
And they got to see the.
But anyway, I just want you to know that sometimes, even some commission members, they come that, Musa, can you
Yeah.
go and check these things? I just want you to know that I cannot just go there if he doesn't allow me to go to his property.
It would never be possible to get one of those attorneys to come to a joint wetland zoning meeting, right, to go, I mean, they're pretty sharp. I don't know. what
Yes,
goes-
they do come, but
Can you check on that?
we have a town attorney.
Oh, okay. No, I just thought it was outside.
Okay. That's something that if you guys ask the town manager's office, you can.
Okay.
Yes. And about the stormwater management in 2024, as I mentioned to Emily, that there will be a revision to the book that we are enforcing now. But the good news is in our regulation, it says that the 2004 version as amended. Like this time, if there is a new book, that will be
Yeah.
included in our regulations. We don't have to make any changes. And also, they're going to change the erosion and sediment control guidelines. But the one that we have is from 2002, and there will be a new version of that, and that will be also included in our regulations. One other interesting thing that they were talking about is that the town can have a storm utility or authority that you can tax properties based on the amount of impervious surface that they have. Some of the towns they already did, some regions they did it, and some states they are really serious about it. They collected a lot of money, and then they can use that for that MS4 regulations.
So we
that-
can add that to our
So
permit schedule?
the surcharge?
It is like, if you have a piece of property, it depends
No,
on how much
right.
impervious surface you have to pay a fee.
A square foot or something?
A square
But that
foot,
gotta
yes.
be, do we have a way of enforcing that?
First, you have to adopt that regulations, that to
Alright.
create that authority, and then have regulations, and then you can enforce it.
So we can bring that up the next meeting?
Yes. No, these things that I mentioned,
Right.
do you want me to put all of these on the agenda
So you
for
said
discussion?
tax
Yes.
on impervious, is that a
It is like a
recurring yearly
fee,
tax,
but it's
or is it
basically-
a
it's basically
fee
a
and like
fee.
an application fee?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
I'd put it all on the next agenda, if it's something to
Talk about it.
talk about,
Okay.
Elite, right? We're
So does
just-
that mean we have to revise what we already approved for the subcommittee?
For your
If
regulations,
you
no.
wanna
No.
add
Well,
stuff
if
to
you're
the
gonna add something,
regulations?
well, if we're gonna add a regulation saying that based on what you're indicating here, X property has
10,000
two
square
thousand
feet.
square feet.
No, that is something that has to be talked to the town council, that they
Right.
create such a authority, like the water and sewer authority that
No,
we
no, no,
have.
what I'm saying, 10 minutes ago, we just motioned to,
Add the
to,
fee,
to
about the
put
monitoring fees and all that, do we have to change our regulation?
No, it
As
is,
amended.
anyway, the town is doing the fees, not you, because you made a recommendation, I already gave
Yeah.
it to the town.
Right,
Okay.
so we're, we
So the
can
fee
just add that
schedule
in
is
there.
separate
Yeah,
from.
the
Right.
town can add those things if they want.
Right.
But if they say, no, there's nothing we can do,
Okay.
yes. Because our fees are set by
Right.
ordinance.
So Mike, you gotta go
And
to
the
town
ordinance
council
has to
meeting.
be changed by town council, yes. I think the chairman and some commission members, you can talk about it if you
Right.
want.
Okay.
All right, so next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, that was my taking from the
Yeah, it was
conference. It
good.
was interesting.
Right.
It was very interesting, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
14, public participation is in. Motion for adjourn at 7:40.
So moved.
Motion made. All in favor, all
Aye.
opposed, motion
I
carries.
gotta run.
Recording stopped.
We made it on time. Thanks, guys.